Hello and welcome back. Unless you are one of the two or three people each day that find us somehow, I'm not sure how it happens. It might just be the two or three that are unsubscribed coming back. But if you are finding us just now, it's a miracle that you're here because someone has sent you this way. If it's not one of our own, it was the Father. And I'm thankful you found us. And I hope that you enjoy your time here. Even if you don't believe in the same exact model we believe in, that's okay. Don't want to discourage you from looking into things or feeling like you're one of us just because you see reality a little different. So, I'm going to dive right in, but before I do, I want to give thanks to a channel that I've been following that helped get my wheels turning to ask the questions I'm asking and figure out what we're figuring out here today. And so, the channel is called Diversity J, and I believe it's Ohio Skywatch or something like that. And the channel is phenomenal. She's a really good astronomer. She documents her stuff on a daily, sometimes basis, but usually, at least if not daily, weekly or twice a week. And she's just a super humble person that will answer questions. And that's rare. With YouTubers that have a lot of subscribers, it's hard to find some that reply and are even kind to people like me who probably, she thinks, man, what's this guy on here, thinking that the earth isn't moving and stuff. So she's kind and humble, has always been nice to me so far, so please return the same to her and use her as a way to just make observations. If you don't have a camera that you can zoom in far enough, or just the time to go outside each night and do that, it's nice to have people doing that over here on the YouTube. But she's been looking at Jupiter for a while, and so have I. I've been going out and recording it occasionally. But this is one of those chief stars that was prophesied to leave its orbital path and be used to deceive mankind in that prophecy from Enoch where it says, "And many chiefs of the stars shall transgress the order prescribed, and these shall alter their orbits and tasks, and not appear at the seasons prescribed to them. And the whole order of the stars shall be concealed from the sinners, and the thoughts of those on earth shall err concerning them." Maybe they'll think they're sons. Maybe they'll name them after gods. Let's just see what's going to happen. Okay? And it says, "And they shall be altered from all their ways. Yea, they shall err and take them to be gods." All of them are named after gods except for Earth, with Earth just being dry land since creation until recent times, where it's now a sphere flying around the sun. So, taking them to be gods. This is where it gets deep later on. We're talking about Jupiter and the Roman history. It's weird. I'm revisiting some of these things and figuring out, wow, we are definitely under the control of Rome, especially when it comes to like Jupiter and things like that. But I was watching this person observe Jupiter and zoom in, take good photos of it, see that storm that just never goes away. It's been there for centuries, but that hurricane that never moves, still there today. And wondering, how have we been able to see it for so long, and how long can we see Jupiter? Well, did some digging and found out you can see it as early as May 19th this year. Keep that date in mind. When can we last see it? Around November 27th. Okay? You look at that on a calendar. I'm going to count the entire months first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 entire months. Almost 6. Then you add this one to it. Slightly more than 6. Should we be able to see it that long? I don't know unless I know how far Jupiter moves and how far away from Earth it is. Those are two important factors. Because if it's really far away, you could probably see it for a while. Not thinking 6 months, that seems still kind of impossible. But when I looked into it, they say that it takes Jupiter 12 years to go around the sun. So you can look at it like the face of a clock right here. With Earth in 6 months, half of a year, we're on the other side of the sun, allegedly. When you look at the stars, you don't quite see that happening. That's what blew my mind after 6 months of looking into this. Looking into the shape of Earth was one thing, but I also wanted to prove all things, and just go out and look at the stars. I encourage each of you to do that for 6 months. Make notes of the constellations you're seeing. You're going to be looking at pretty much the same stars the entire 6 months. They will shift a little bit with the seasons, but they are the same stars and pretty much the same constellations that you can see any point in the year. You can look up and see. They say it's because we're really small, but I don't think that being small gives me that ability to look that way. Otherwise, it would be daylight 24/7 because we'd be able to look back and see the sun. We can't. Okay, so if Jupiter moves that much and we are facing the opposite direction, how is it that we see it? That's a good question. I thought about the scale. It's about 4 times further away from the sun than we are. So when you move it further away and try to play around with it and see if it's possible to see it for a little more than 6 months, it's not possible on the given flat heliocentric model with everything circling around the sun. It's not possible, but you can see it for that long. And so you can play around with this yourself. You can get some lines, move them, and just kind of see, because you can definitely see it for 1, 2, 3, 4 months, possibly. But once you start getting around the corner, that 5 month mark, near the 5 month mark, you can't see it anymore. That line of sight of the nighttime side of Earth prohibits you from being able to peek around and see it. And definitely the 6 month mark shouldn't be able to see that chief star anymore. And why do I think it's a chief star and not something you could land on? Well, we're told it's a ball of gas and helium and all these gases, and it's sort of oblate. It's like they say Earth is spheroid because it spins. So it's a ball of gas in a vacuum, and it's extremely bright. It's like the third brightest light in the sky, they say, other than you got the sun, the moon, and then Jupiter, and then some of the other chief stars, aka planets. But Jupiter here has these moons next to it. So not only should we not be able to see it for as long as we do, there's something extra strange that we can see with Jupiter, and it has to do with those moons, which revealed to me that Jupiter is its own light. It is a light, and it's for signs and for seasons. And in this case, you have these alleged moons surrounding Jupiter. Not saying that they aren't some sort of small little moons, kind of like the moon that we have, that's the lesser light, but they go along with Jupiter and they stay really close to it. And what happens is you'll see what I saw, these crescent moons. Well, if Jupiter and these moons are getting their light from the sun, they would all have the exact same amount of light, being that they are over 400 million miles away from the sun. If you have crescent moons, you're going to have a crescent Jupiter. I've never seen a crescent Jupiter, and so Jupiter and these moons don't match up. These moons appear to be getting their light from Jupiter, as if Jupiter is its own light. It would have to be. And when you see this thing in the night sky, it definitely does not look like it's just a ball of gas reflecting some light bouncing off. It's pretty bright. I would compare it to the moon. It's one of those where you can see it and it doesn't hurt your eyes, but it's very bright and it's hard to focus your camera on it. And when you see it with your standard camera, it is hard to get it to adjust to where you can see the detail on Jupiter because it's just that bright. Now, people that are very talented, they can do that and adjust the exposure settings and whatnot. I cannot do that yet. All I can do is the programmed auto type of stuff. Kind of a rookie. I definitely need to read the manual and study how to do all those things. I watch videos and I'll learn it, and then I just kind of forget not long after. So I need to keep working on that. But now, in addition to seeing that, I also saw something else, and I've shared this a while back, was similar to the lunar wave. I have never seen one pass over another star or anything like that. It's kind of hard to tell with the stars because they are so tiny and they're always flickering. But I've seen a wave pass over Jupiter, and it looked exactly like the lunar waves that we've seen in the past. And Diversity J, she actually captured one of these, and that's why I started following her, just to see how that impacted what she thought about the firmament and what she was looking at, because those things are unexplained. When you capture them, you'll see what I'm talking about, because she was filming and she saw it and she said, "What the heck is that?" or something along those lines. And she looked around. She said, "There's definitely no planes in the sky. There's nothing that could cause a disturbance to the atmosphere to make a ripple move in front of the moon." And that's exactly what it was. There was a giant ripple that just moved across the moon. You can see it. I'm going to show it right here. Here it is. You see the wave just moving across right there, like we've seen several other times. People, I guess it's very rare. I'm always hoping to capture one of these, but when they do happen, it's spectacular, and it reminds us again of those lightning sprites that we see that are up there near the firmament. Not saying the firmament's only 73 or 80 miles or whatever this where these sprites have been spotted. I believe that it could be some of the gases or liquid below the firmament, and that it could, the actual more solid structure of it could be way higher. Not really sure what type of barrier it is. It may not even be solid at all. It could just be some like force field, because our Father made it. He put the stars inside it. It's called the firmament in the Bible. They call it the dome of the sky in certain translations. It's one of those things that just helps wake people up when they see it, because it's hard to deny what you're seeing, especially when you are having a spiritual part of the awakening. And some people, it's just they see it and they see the evidence and they kind of understand why they are lying and how they're hiding it. It's not really one of those things where you just have to believe it on faith. You can see it, see the properties of it, you can see how it moves. You can watch the stars, sun, and moon as they move in their paths. And the only things that have left their prescribed paths are, of course, these chief stars. So they make astronomy a little more interesting. And you had people, I mean, many people debating this, like Tycho Brahe. He was a geocentric believer, and he was under the assumption that all of the planets revolved around the sun and the moon revolved around us. And that's not hard to disbelieve, because when you look at it, you can see planets passing in front of the sun, the chief star. And there's been times documented where stars have been seen in front of the moon. A lot of people assume that you're seeing through the moon and the moon is transparent. That's a possibility, but I just think they're all up there in the firmament, and you can see occasionally one on its path might pass in front of part of the moon. Especially, it's usually when the part of the moon is dark, and that there's just no explanation for it. They say it's been documented, so you can look that up. I've seen pictures of it, and actual astronomers took them. These weren't like NASA photos or anything. They would definitely not want these images out there. I'll see if I could track those down and link them in the description. But it's been a couple years since I came across those, and things like that are becoming harder to find. Now, the weird stuff that I found when I was looking into just the name Jupiter, where does it come from? Jupiter, it says, this is from Wikipedia, has been known to astronomers since antiquity. It is named after the Roman god Jupiter. Just like that prophecy said, they're all taken to be gods. When viewed from Earth, Jupiter can be bright enough for its reflected light to cast shadows, and is on average the third brightest natural object in the night sky after the moon and Venus. Okay, in the night sky is the third brightest, so it's the fourth brightest, my bad. Jupiter is primarily composed of hydrogen, with a quarter of its mass being helium. So you've got hydrogen and helium in a vacuum. Interesting. Though helium comprises only about a tenth of the number of molecules, it may also have a rocky core. We don't even know. It may have a rocky core. We know what asteroids trillions of light years are made out of. They're made out of gold. Don't know about Jupiter or some other heavy elements. But like the other giant planets, Jupiter lacks a well-defined solid surface. So that's sort of the basics of Jupiter. But here is the origin, and let's look at this. This is where we get tracked back to modern day America and the deception. But it says Jupiter, and I'll just read the stuff that's Important, also known as Jove or Hove, I don't know how you're going to pronounce this, Gen Lovis, is the god of the sky and thunder and king of the gods. In ancient Roman religion and mythology, Jupiter was the chief deity of Roman state religion throughout the Republican and imperial eras until Christianity became the dominant religion of the empire. Now, Christianity was becoming dominant back then, and they had to change it. That's why you have the Vatican, and they are just set up to just alter Christianity, and they have been from the get-go. If you cannot beat them, pretend you join them and just make all sorts of different divisions and rules, change the commandments, do all these things. So that's kind of what's been going on there. I'm not going to get into that too much. But that was the Roman Empire. So this was right before Christianity, before they created their establishment there to merge with Christianity, but maintain their rule. And it was quite a wise play. They were desperate. But in the Roman mythology, he negotiates with Numa Pompilius, the second king of Rome, to establish principles of Roman religion, such as offering or sacrifice. Jupiter is thought to have originated as an aerial god. His identifying implement is the thunderbolt, and his primary sacred animal is the eagle. That's why America has the eagle, which held precedence over other birds in the taking of all species and became one of the most common symbols of the Roman army. So they had that eagle or a thunderbolt, or an eagle holding thunderbolts in its claws. So the two emblems were often combined to represent the god in the form of an eagle holding in its claws a thunderbolt, frequently seen on Greek and Roman coins. As the sky god, he was a divine witness to oaths, the sacred trust on which justice and good governments depend. Many of his functions were focused on the Capitoline Hill. That's where it gets weird. Capitoline Hill. So you got Jupiter and Capitoline Hill. And look what we have here in America. We have our own Capitol Hill. Just like the old days in Rome, resurrected. Okay, if you've looked at your birth certificate, you'll see we're still under that Roman rule. We're still properties of Rome. Nothing new under the sun. Nothing has changed. Everything is kind of just stayed the same. They pretend that we have a flag, we're a country, we stand for freedom, and then give us this patriotic song that we could all sing and stay divided from the rest of the world. We cannot all unite. That is too powerful if the entire world and nations were to unite in truth. It's very powerful. So we have to have borders, flags, all these different things that set us apart from each other. They have to, of course, also enforce the race issues, how there's different races, and you have evolution, and they just make it seem like certain races are not as evolved. All those different nonsense types of things they put out there to control us. And it's worked quite well over the centuries. You've seen people fighting their own brothers. We had the Civil War where brothers were fighting each other. Everybody was divided. And we call ourselves the United States of America. And there's still that taste of division when you talk to people, especially in the South. I don't understand that. Like, oh, we should have won. Get over it. We should have never fought in the first place. Ever. It was ridiculous. We should have never done the things we did with the slaves, and we should have never fought. Should have been no questions asked. Everyone should have been set free. It was quite ridiculous. But enough about the history. I just wanted to share these few things. It is kind of groundbreaking to me. I've never thought of it that way, and I was glad that the thought popped into my head because as a new astronomer, I'm not someone who is just a previous avid astronomer. Most of us are making observations for over the last few years and seeing things we never thought we would see and shouldn't be able to see, honestly. So just wanted to share this. My time is really short when I'm making these videos lately, so I hate talking fast and being in a hurry. but we have a lot going on. We've had some little setbacks with the house. We have to have it finished by December 13th, or else it's going to cost us a lot of money. So we're scrambling to get it done. And, you know, people always say it puts a strain on you and on your marriage and all of that. And it's really stressful. I did not believe it. I thought, yeah, we'll be okay. We're immune to that sort of stress. But it's very stressful. So pray for the wife. She's one of those numbers people who we try to save as much money as we can, because we're building a house that we really can't afford unless we really cut corners. And then sometimes, as people warn you, you always end up paying more than what you estimate for a house, because there's unforeseen things that happen, mistakes, and all sorts of stuff. Not to mention, we have the office that we didn't plan on having, which was a gift from the Father. And so I thank you all for your support that you've given us so far to help us be able to not really afford it yet. We're not quite to where we can afford it, but we thank you for the continued support. So we'll be back soon. I have something else I want to share, and I would definitely be having a lot more fellowships when we have our office done, and we are praying and hoping that it's within the next month. So pray with us, unite with us. Remember, pray without ceasing. You can pray with your eyes open. You can pray looking up. You can pray face first on the ground. There is no wrong way to pray other than just babbling, like the Bible warns us, like you just saying words to say words, which I've been guilty of that. Make sure it's sincere, and that you keep the Father first, not so that He can punish you when you mess up, but it's so you don't get hurt, so that you don't walk out there in the world without the guidance you need, and you have the armor that you need to face these battles we are in. And it is a battle. So keep on that full armor. I love you guys. I'll be around again very soon. Thanks for everything. God bless.